Hi, I am Kåre Noggart, and I will show you how in the future people will use IT the same way they use a GPS to find their way when they need to get treated or they need to find their way through the medication jungle. So my vision is that people will use their mobile or other devices, their PC or mobile, to find their way through the jungle whenever they get ill or whenever they need to check that they don't have a medication error. Um, and the way I will proceed is first I will show you the long-term vision, how to use a GPS for health. We call it the Google Maps for health, essentially because we want to do the same thing as Google Maps does when it comes to routing. And that GPS will lead you to the cure, as you can see down here on this presentation. Um, and when I have shown you the vision for how healthcare will be easily consumed by doctors and by patients and relatives and everybody involved in the healthcare process, then I will turn to medication and show you how to eradicate medication errors as the first step and as the first general use of this tool. And in doing so, I will show you the Danish side, med check or medication check. But this is all I will show at present. We can switch between Danish and English, but we will not use that side very much more because all it does is shown on drug GPS, where you cannot select Danish at the moment. We use MedCheck for the Danish market, but it comes in Spanish and French and whatever language you prefer. Presently, we have done it in Spanish and French, and I'll show you why. And but initially, I will show you the Cure GPS site. But first, let me show you a few slides about why we do all this. First of all, the vision is that we'll have routing similar to the way we today use a GPS to get from A to B. So imagine that I want to go from a place in Manhattan, here, or here in the old school map, to a place in Long Island. Out here somewhere is an airport where I want to go. And the way a GPS works is it has digitized all the previous information that used to be expressed in maps into something digital that allows it to do a routing, an adaptive routing. And if you look into what it actually does behind the scenes of this more nice to show map, it actually creates a route plan step by step, allowing you to go correctly from A to B. And you can tell from the map here that it actually has computed that currently there are traffic congestion on this freeway, so it routes you in a different way. This is exactly the same thing we have as a vision for how to consume healthcare. So today the healthcare guidelines come out in this format, similar to the way routing plans came out previously in terms of maps. By digitizing all those that information, we can allow Cure GPS to route you correctly through to the cure. In this case, and the case I will show you in a moment, you want to be cured for breast cancer. So one step can be to decide whether to have chemotherapy, whether to have radiotherapy, and whether to have hormone therapy. And the device will show you what it thinks you should do, but it allows you to do to either follow the recommendation, in this case choose your chemotherapy as recommended, or decline it. And in this way it does the same thing as GPS does when you can actually choose to drive in a different path than it recommends, and it will recalculate the route accordingly. This is exactly how we can do in the healthcare process. And for this, I will show you the Cure GPS. So we'll jump all the the hard stuff about how to register and so on, just to say that you can easily resume where you are. And I will go back to the agenda just to show you where we are. So what it does is if it resumes your treatment from where you are, then pretend that you have a breast cancer and you're currently at this step called gene test selection, and there are probably certain things that you have said previously in the previous steps, and these are resumed here in case you want to know. But the key thing here on this step is to decide whether you know or don't know the 21 genes. And there's an explanation here. So it tries to make it easy for you to go through the breast cancer treatment. Okay, in this case, it just assumes you're an American. You can actually be in different countries, but or you can participate in the clinical trial, which all of it will change the rules you go by. But let's assume you are in the US. And you have chosen chemotherapy because it was offered, but you can also decline it. But if you choose it, it will tell you that it takes 126 days, etc., and you can just carry on and configure the treatment. The thing is, you can then configure whether you want to have radiotherapy, which is chosen. It takes 35 days, etc. And you can actually jump in the flow. This is more relevant to doctors. And you see, we have already done this, but just to tell that you can redo a step that you have already done on chemotherapy configuration. We'll take it all over. So the first thing is that you have to say which kind of chemotherapy you want, or the doctor wants for you, assuming it's a CAF treatment. It tells you that CAF means you have to give cyclophosphamide, and we can hold the mouse here to see what it means. You have to not give methotrexate. You have to give fluorouracil, etc. And these choices can be post-edited so that you actually may do a different combination. But assume that we just want to follow the CF as it comes by default. Then you scroll down. Since some of the dose calculations are dependent on your dimensions or your body weight and height, then you have to compute the Dubois or Mosteller body surface area. And previously you have supplied your body weight. The thing is, it might have changed, and therefore it is recaptured that on this step it is needed, and you might change it. And then the doses, you have a creatinine measurement, which comes into the dose calculation as well. So first of all, you need to dose your cyclophosphamide. It's intravenous. It's based on per kilo amount. So it doses 50 milligrams per kilogram of weight, which means you need an initial dose of 2,721 milligrams, split over 5 days. Fluorouracil, or whatever it's called, is also intravenous, but it's based on body surface area, 500 milligrams per square meter, which comes down to 751 milligrams initially, split over 1 day, and a wait period of 7 days, and so on. The point is, this dosage calculation comes as a part of the overall workflow, so you can skip forward and back. If the weight changes, it will force you and the doctor to resume that step again. So for instance, if you lose weight, it will require a different dose. But so the doctor doesn't make an error in at this step. He might be on his way to holiday. He wants to configure your chemotherapy treatment even before it is actually done, even before you have done all the other decisions. And the multidisciplinary team might meet, but the chemotherapy is now configured and it will stay as it is until something changes underlying it. And this way you can go safely all the way through the breast cancer treatment. Like a GPS will guide you through all the traffic. Okay, this is our initial vision. The thing is, it is done by a so-called process matrix, so nothing of what you have seen is coded. Everything comes from this matrix, and I will briefly show you this matrix and how it works. But the whole point is the future of guidelines will be that they are structured in this way in activities and roles determining who has the responsibility to carry it out, states, which is key to when an activity becomes relevant or not. For instance, the chemotherapy only becomes relevant if you have chosen chemotherapy, and you will only have chosen chemotherapy if it is recommended as an option. And the data will be all the things that appear on that particular step. And if you structure all of the guidelines in this way, then they can be displayed as and consumed as a route plan, and thereby allowing you to go through the treatment in an error-free and optimal mode. Now, to explain this a bit further than a view graph, we have picked a particular step here just to scroll you through a real matrix. You can here see the way it looks in Excel, and then it gets exported from Excel to a database format, which we show here. So here are all the steps. Here's the English text, and from this it generates what you have seen on the website. And that step, who and what, contains a couple of groups of data elements, and each data element can then be seen by expanding the group of data elements, and you can see that the data element treatment domain data contains a selection on these between these different treatment domains: Denmark, Norway, Sweden, UK, etc. We could expand a different data domain, say units, and it has 2 units implemented, the US and the metric, etc. So the point is that all of the data in this guideline is completely and well structured, allowing you to go through the treatment in a simple way. Now let's turn now to drugs. I would like to show you the second part of the presentation with the vision to eradicate medication errors completely. And there's a bit of a free lunch we have discovered here, which is that it appears that nobody has yet structured the medication databases correctly and sufficiently, but it is quite easily done, and it is easily done in a global way, so that if we and when we start implementing and spreading this medication error eradication in one country, it can be quite quickly implemented in a lot of other countries. The only thing we require is a database of drugs. Just to show you what we have accomplished at this point in Denmark. Now this is in Danish, but each line constitutes a patient. and you can actually see that we find many errors. The point is that the red ones are serious errors, the yellow ones are medium errors, and the black ones are light errors. And what this diagram says is that, for instance, we look at epi process or epi 13 taking 11 medicines daily. There's an interaction between the heart magnil or because of an interaction between aspirin and astaxanthin, and this particular person is overdosed with anticoagulant medication. And the point is, we compute that by looking at the person's medications listed as products. In Denmark, we have this in a common database, and this becomes more and more normal in Europe to record your medication products and their consumption in the database. But the problem is that you don't record the actual active substances. Now we convert that into active substances, so you can actually see that this product contributes together with this product to the overall amount of aspirin. In Denmark, it's called acetyl salicylic acid or syre. So together you get that amount of that, and you can convert that into an equivalent anticoagulant dose, so that this product with its own maximum dose of anticoagulant, because it's dosed to the maximum, taken together with this product, overdoses the person in anticoagulation medication. So it's a pretty nerdy, but completely under the surface, it's done by the database. So having had the underlying structure of how products relate to active substances, you can actually automatically calculate overdose situations of active substances, something which hadn't been possible to do previously because it required a specialist and a calculator and a lot of time, which nobody has. This structure, together with some cleaning up, you can see that in the Danish database, and this is the same in all the other countries, we need to clean up because you can evidently see that this product of 509.6 and 150 milligrams, so they are free active ingredients, only the two of them are recorded, and the strength is not recorded whenever a combination product exists in the Danish database. And there are similar drawbacks in the other databases which impedes you from deducing the amount that you get when you get one pill, of the amount of active ingredients that you get when you get one pill, and thereby you cannot detect overdose situations, and that's a big drawback. So this we have done for the products that these countries offer. So the American, we started off with the Danish database further to the right here, or extreme right. But the thing is that the other databases, France, Spain, as well as Canada and US, and Greenland comes from the Danish database. So all of North America we have mapped into the same set of active substances. And the trick, or the free lunch that seems to appear, is that only 1,500 active substances span or constitute all the different products that you see in every country. So building all our features on these 1,500 active substances allows us to make medication intelligence in all of these countries based on a patient just reporting the products they take. And the medication intelligence constitutes a lot of things that now can be done automatically, and notably overdosing of risk categories seems to be something that we can now do automatically, and I just showed you an anticoagulant overdoses situation, which is outright dangerous. But we can also do other overdosing situations, and then we can show you something that hasn't been done before, which is we can monitor the package inserts, and we then further do a lot more, which allows you to do a comprehensive check of your medication. And this way, we think that we can eradicate medication errors, and then we can continue making sure that they are never entered into whenever a prescription is issued, if we require the doctor to always check the medication before he issues a prescription. And the thing is, we have done a pretty comprehensive data model underneath of the global stuff, and the point is we have one global database for the active substances and how they are grouped together, and then we make country specific medication lists that are based on these global active substances, and I will show you. The point is that if we look at the database, we can then we have presently implemented the countries I previously showed. The point is we can then have a look at, say, abacavir, which is number one. We'll cover the one, and we'll have a look at all the different implementations of this number one drug. And you can see in Denmark we have these products. In the US they have these products. In Canada they have these products. In France they have these products. And incidentally, you can see that in France some of the products are denominated as abacavir and no further specification, and some are denominated as abacavir sulfate. In Spain they have these products, and they nominate them on a high level, but we capture that, so no matter whether they are named as abacavir or abacavir sulfate, we know that both are abacavir. And similarly, if we take a look at something that most people know as aspirin, in Denmark it's known as acetyl salicylic acid, and we then remember it's number 11, which I'll now copy, and we take a look at number 11. Then you can see that in Denmark we have these products containing aspirin. In the US they have a lot more. These products contain aspirin, and in Canada they have these products containing aspirin, and so on. In France they have these products containing aspirin, and in Spain they have these products containing aspirin. And then we have two additional products in Denmark here at the bottom. The database is pretty comprehensive. This was just a surface scratch snapshot, and the point is that when you have ordered that completely, like we have, then you are able to do what I'll show you now. If we resume a current person, I have another test person here, then I'll show you how to look at the medication of this person and report errors and report and monitor the package inserts. So the point is this person, we'll see it in a moment, has supplied that he or she takes simvastatin. I think it's part of the product called Socor. Therefore, we put some additional questions which allow us to detect whether this person is in violation of any of the points of the package insert. First of all, we check whether there are any contraindications, and there is actually one. Secondly, we see if there are any precautions, and there are two, because for simvastatin, it's a precaution to be a woman, apparently, but it's also a precaution to drink a lot of alcohol. And finally, we detect whether there are any other drugs that you have to tell your doctor about. This is all checked there. If we look at the alcohol, then it has asked how many units you drink per week. It will only ask this question if you say that you take simvastatin or any other drug that needs to know. And if you then answer that you take 44 units per week, it will instantly calculate that that's 6.2 per day. It uses a threshold called 4 as a risk. If you change that, you can't change it. But if you change your consumption to something less, say 22, then your number of units per day is 3.14, which is less than the risk threshold. So you will notice that it then says that you're not above the risk threshold. And the point is that if I then look at simvastatin again, it will tell you that you need to look at it again because something has changed, and you can actually see that you don't have a lot of alcohol anymore because you have changed that. But you're still a woman. You have thyroid problems. Thyroid problems comes from a question it will ask. Because if you say that you take simvastatin, it will say which diseases you suffer from. And you have said that previously when you got that question that you suffered from thyroid disease. Therefore, it can compute automatically that you are in violation of a precaution. The point is that you have then supplied different medicines. This is the only thing we're not so proud about because it has a long load time. The reason why it has a long load time from medication lists is that for each field, of which there are 5 on this particular page, it loads the full medication list for that country, plus the ones you have said previously that you take. Now we have said that we are in Denmark, so it currently will produce the Danish drop down for medication, which appears here, plus the ones that you already take. So you have supplied in this case that you take Socor, which you have purchased in Canada. Therefore, it is a Canadian. There used to be a Canadian list of drugs from which you selected Socor. You say that you take atorvastatin, which you have from a US company called Sun Farm Limited. At that time you were in the US. You selected Tylenol. In Spain you selected Ibudol because you traveled to Spain and you purchased Ibudol because the doctor down there told you to. And all in all, this ends up with that list of precautions you have to take. There are other things you have to be careful about. There's a drug allergy violation because you have previously said that you have NSAID allergy, and the Spanish product that I just showed contains ibuprofen, and ibuprofen brings you in a violation situation. There are a lot of things that you can detect. like overdoses situation is maybe the most important one because it might kill you if you're in an overdoses situation. And you can actually tell that you're in an overdoses of anticoagulants by 14, where the reference point is 10. So you're overdosed 50%. This could be dangerous. You're also in an overdose situation of painkillers 6.6, where the threshold point is 4. So you're overdosed also 50% with painkillers. And the details can be seen if you take that step, which shows you why it has come down to this. So the overdoses situation is there because you take an amount of clopidogrel, which you have rounded up in France, I haven't shown you, which brings you in an overdoses situation with that particular amount. And it all is summed up in a shortened summary that you can take from here and bring to your doctor. It will briefly summarize your medication situation, saying you're in a violation of one drug, allergy, called NSAID, and these are the other things that you need to know. There are multiple substances, it's statins that you take 2 of. There are multiple, I think it's painkillers, etc. And it will tell you more details in detail what it is that it has detected, so that the doctor can quickly act on it. And if the doctor wants, he can click on this link or put it into his browser, or it can be printed out and taken to the doctor. The point is that you can quickly act on it from this information. The more complete report is here. It summarizes everything that is in the workflow. It explains in plain English, or the language you prefer, whether or what the risks are, and you can extract it all and get a complete and comprehensive reporting of your drugs. And what are the findings. So this is what you just have seen, plus a lot more. It will tell you what drugs you have supplied and the amounts you say that you take. It will, if you scroll down, it will tell you all the direct interactions. It will tell you what active substances and what are the milligram or whatever it's denominated in amounts that you take per day, etc. It's pretty comprehensive, and the point is it tries then to explain it all in, and it has the package inserts and whether you violate them point by point specified in this report. So you don't have to read the package inserts of your products anymore. You can just use this tool to tell you what is in and what is out of all your drugs. And finally, it prints the date, which is today's date, because this is a moving picture. Now that was my presentation. So I hope that by doing so, you will see that we have, or we can fulfill a vision whereby you can use an IT tool like one that you would have in the mobile phone to guide you safely to the cure and to avoid medication errors. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's talk.